Doc. I am one of the founders of the Hood Collective, and today we are asking the question, are you a commodity or are you a brand? So first of all, we have to define what we mean when we're talking about a commodity. A commodity is a product that is mainly competing on price. It is your cannabis in a glass jar on a shelf somewhere with no logo, maybe a little tiny label next to it that has your brand name. But for the most part, it's just a bunch of flower with the strain next to it and the THC level next to it, next to a lot of other jars from a lot of different farms. And the consumers in the dispensary, they don't really know or care where it's coming from. They just care how much it is and what the THC level is. That is a commodity. It is an agricultural product. And we know we're growers, we're farmers in this industry, but we like to think of ourselves more as cultivars and geneticists and botanists, and that we're doing high level science to get a product that is very advanced compared to where the industry was 20, 30 years ago. But when we're selling a commodity, it really just boils down to those two numbers. How much is it and what's the THC level? And the really frightening part about selling a commodity and producing a commodity is that, as soon as a cheaper option comes along, you are very easily replaced, right? When that new fancy grow starts up in your state and has millions of dollars of backing, and they have space age facilities to grow weed as efficiently as humanly possible, what happens to your product? It just, it stops getting sold. It stops getting bought by the dispensaries because they have a cheaper option now. That's what it means to be a commodity. And so what I'm saying is that for the majority of the industry, growers are commodities and they are competing primarily on price and THC. And when you admit that to yourself and you realize that is, the hand that you've been dealt, whether it's because of market forces or because of, the way you've gone about it or the lack of investment in your brand, whatever the circumstances, when the reality is that you're a commodity, then all you really need to worry about is what can you do to drive that price down and to drive that THC number up. Because those are the number one and number two factors in how much product you're going to move. And so everything about your grow needs to be optimized as much as possible so you can get that, price per pound down to the lowest point possible for you, so that you have more and more ability to make a profit and move your product compared to your competitors. And so that's the game you're in when you are selling a commodity. It can be a tough place to be in because you need a big initial investment to get the equipment that you need to grow at that efficiency. You need to have LED lights, which can tend to be more expensive, although there are options to get those lights, if not wholly funded, at least much of the cost offset by utility grants. They have programs to help you convert to LED, to convert to more efficient systems in HVAC, because it's going to save energy, it's going to reduce the impact on the environment. And so there are incentives out there that you can apply for. But the better invested you are in your initial setup, and the more ability you have to, get that kind of high-end equipment that is going to make you more efficient, the better off you're going to be, the more competitive you're going to be. So that's what it means to be a commodity. And if you come to us, the Hood Collective, a marketing agency, and say, hey, we want to sell more weed, and what you're selling is a commodity, and you haven't invested in your brand, and you don't have the brand awareness that but you're at this point where you're getting out competed and you want a marketing agency to help save you, it's too late, right? And that's why we want to get the message out early to people before they have made that investment, is if you don't want to be a commodity, if you want to be competing based around the quality of your cannabis and the story that you have to tell and why it's more compelling than your competitors, then you are a brand, or you are aspiring to be a brand. And so what we mean by brand is now people are choosing you, even if it's a more expensive option, because of the connection they feel to your product. Whether it's because it could be as simple as, oh, I've met this guy before at an event or at a pop-up, or, I met him through whatever it is. If you have that human connection with someone, they go into the shop and they're like, oh yeah, I know, I like that guy. I know that he's a good grower. I believe in what he's doing. I want to support that. I don't care if it's a little more expensive, right? Well, that's what a brand is. Unfortunately, you can't meet face-to-face every one of your consumers. You can't be in the shop being like, hey, pick ours because let me tell you our story. That is exactly what a brand does. A brand is recreating the feeling that a person has after a face-to-face interaction. You're trying to make that connection with your customer through your logo, through your design of your packaging, through your website, through the story that you are telling with every piece of marketing material, packaging, every piece that is customer facing, that is telling them something about your product and your brand, whether it is intentional or accidental, right? So if you have a cheap website and someone comes to your website, it's like, oh, I saw their flower in the dispensary, let me see what this place is about, and they go to your website and it's bad, then that is branding. It's just not the kind of branding that you want. The same with social media. If you're putting up photos of your flower that you've taken with a phone that have bad lighting, it's got the yellows or the purples, or it's just like super saturated, and it's not clear, it's not clean. Again, you're telling your customer, your potential customer, all they need to know about your brand. Whereas a company that has invested in their brand, that has been very thoughtful about their branding, they are telling a different story. They're telling a positive story. They are creating that connection with their customers. You create a brand, you decide on your name, your logo, your packaging, and you should be very deliberate about what is the feeling I want to give to my customers? What do I want them to know about what this product is, or what our farm stands for, right? And once you decide on those core principles, then you make sure that it is infused in everything you do. And knowing, final thing on this topic, knowing that when it comes to branding and the state of this industry, and how most likely, if you're watching this video, you don't have a lot of money to throw around, you have to be really intentional and deliberate about where you do invest your money and what you're going to spend it on. Well, you're going to spend it on the things that are most front and center of your brand. Most likely your packaging, right? If you're selling online, then it's your website and your packaging. But if you're only selling in the dispensaries, then it's the packaging. If you're in a state where you get to individually pack the flower, great, right? Because then you get to define that experience in the shop. If you're in a state where your flower is only going to most likely just be in a big glass jar that they weigh out the flower and give it to the customer, then you're selling a commodity, and the only way to break out of that is to sell pre-roll, sell concentrate, sell gummies, you make products that are going to have your branding on it, your packaging on it, and then you can become a brand. But if you aren't able to do that, then you're just a commodity. And there are some things that you can do, and there are some examples. I don't want this video to be too long. We have other videos and information on our website specifically about how to build up your brand. And so we don't have to go into all the details, but I just wanted to raise that question and put it into your mind. Are you a commodity or are you a brand? Because that defines everything, and you really need to define which lane you're in. Now, obviously, even if you're a brand, you know, the lower you can make that price point, the better. But the whole reason to invest in your brand is that you don't get stuck in that, you know, ever devolving race to the bottom of we have to sell as cheaply as possible because it's the only way we can get on the shelves. If you have a brand that customers want, that know by name, that go into the dispensary and ask for it, then you are not going to have to worry about that problem. Obviously, cost is always going to figure in, but the stronger your brand, the less you have to worry about it. So I hope that asking and answering that question is helping you think about, you know, your business and your approach to the marketplace and which direction best fits you. Because once you pick that direction, really focus in hard on it and do everything you can. If you're a commodity, great. Sell it for as cheap as possible and do everything you can to be as efficient as you can. Or if you're a brand, then invest in the brand, do everything you can to reinforce the brand at every point of contact that you have with your customers. And if you are able to do that, then that is going to be your best chance for success. It doesn't guarantee anything, obviously, but you are setting yourself up to succeed in a way that, you know, the competitors that aren't investing in their brand and not being deliberate about it never will be able to. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or you can reach out to us directly on the website. You can even find my personal email on there and reach out to me directly. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching the video, and I will see you next time.